Hey everybody, it's Mr. Carr again. Today we're talking about 1A day 4 multiples and factors. Okay, so again, here's another Ignite, a little bit of a review of our previous video with our evaluations. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video again. I want you to try this out. Okay. Oh, looks like my cat wants to join the video. All right. So I'm gonna pause it right here. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to try this out, and then I'll just show you the answers at the end. Okay. So go ahead and go for that. And now we're back. So you get a final answer here of 31. Okay. So there's my work on that one. We plugged in -2, 10, and 7 in their positions. I did subtraction here to get me to 3. 10 minus 7 is 3. Exponent to that is 27. -2 is raised to the second power. So that's going to be a -2 times -2 is +4. Then I get that right there as an answer. Okay. So that's what we worked on before, was our order of operations with evaluating. Now we're going to work with what's called multiples, common factors, and then we're going to talk also a little bit about adding and subtracting fractions, because that's going to tie to those. So let's start with the definitions of each of these. All right, so a multiple is a number. Oops. That results, can't spell today, that results from multiplying a number by I lost my train of thought. A number that results from multiplying a number by an integer. There we go. Okay. So for example of that, if I say, 2 times 3 is 6, that means 6 is a multiple of 2. Okay. It's also a multiple of 3, because I could take 3 and I multiply by 2. So you might see stuff like this. If I look at the multiples of 2, okay, well, 2 is going to be multiplied by 2 is 4. Then 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. And then times 2 again is 10, and so on. Okay, these are all the multiples of 2. As it, oh, it didn't show up. Why is it not showing up? Let me pause that real quick. I'm having some issues here. There, it's back. I don't know why that didn't show up on there. Okay, but bottom line is the multiples of 2 is going to be 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 5 is 10, and so on. So those are examples of multiples. A least common multiple is the smallest multiple for two numbers to have in common. I know I kind of use a lot of the terms that are in there to define this. Not the best practice, but to kind of help demonstrate that, I think of, let's say, 4 and 5. So the least common multiple, 4 and 5. We need to find numbers that they both multiply up to. So if I were to list them out, kind of like with this strategy here, when I hit to a common one would be, I got 4, 16, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. For 5, it'd be 5, 10, 15, 20. So the LCM here is 20. Okay. Both 4 and 5 multiply up to 20, and it's the smallest possibility. It gets a little bit challenging if I were to do something like this. If I did 4 and 6, you could just take 4 times 6, and that's a common multiple is 24, but it's not the least one. Because I did 4 and 6, I'm running out of space there. Yeah, I don't like that. Oh, well, let me just put it here. So I say 4 and 6. The least common multiple there, I got 4, 8, 12. 12 is a key number, because then I look at 6 at 6, 12. 12 is my least common multiple. Okay. Factor, a number. Oops. In a multiplication problem. Okay, so for example, if I do 2 times 3, These are both factors. 2 and 3 are factors. So I would say that 2 and 3 are factors of 6 because that's both numbers are in the multiplication problem there. Greatest common factor is the largest factor in common between two numbers. Okay. Sorry, excuse my messy handwriting. Writing on an iPad, so it's not the best. Okay, so greatest common factor is the largest factor that's in common between two numbers. And what does that mean? Let's take, for example, 12 and 18. So if I think about my factor pairs, like what two numbers multiply to 12? Well, I've got 1 times 12, and I'm going to run out of space there. So let me just get rid of the 18. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. Okay. If I do the same thing with 18, that's 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. Well, if I look at these sets of factors, the largest number in both cases is the 6. So if I look at 12 and 18, the GCF of those two numbers is 6 because that's the largest number there and there. Okay, 9 and 18 are larger, but they're not factors of 12. Okay, so that's how we can help find that. That's a step-by-step process. If you want to just list out all the things that multiply to 12, all the things that multiply to 18, and look for your biggest number that's the same. All right, so finding multiples of integers, find 5 multiples of the given numbers. I'm going to make it easy as possible. So 2 is actually, that's it. 2 is a multiple. Because if I take 2 times 1, that's a multiplication problem. So 2 is a multiple. If I go 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is, where am I at? 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. And then 2 times 5 is 10. There's 5 multiples right there. So like I said, that is 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3, 2 times 4, and 2 times 5. That's how I get those results. Honestly, I'm just going to do the same thing for the other examples. 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2, 5 times 3, 5 times 4, 5 times 5. Okay, 10. Just going to change it up. Why not? It doesn't say the next 5 multiples. I could just do any multiples I want. So I'll do 10. 10 times 5 is 50. And then I'll do 70. And then I'll do 90 and 100. Those are all multiples. Okay. So 10 times 5, 10 times 7, 10 times 9, 10 times 10. 12, I'll go back to the smaller ones. So I'll go 12 times 2 times 3 times 4 and times 5. All right. Least common multiple, find the least common multiple of these numbers. One thing I like to do as a strategy is I start looking at the smaller number. Can the smaller number multiply up to the other one? So let me start with that. So 16. 16 times 2 is going to give me 32. Okay. 16 times 3 is going to give me, let's see here. Where am I at? So 16 times 3 is going to give me 48. Right? I'm having trouble today. Yeah, 16 times 3 is 48. All right. 16 times 4 is going to give me up to 64. Okay. And then 16 times 5, that's going to give me 30. And that's going to give me 80. Okay. And then we'll do one more. Let's try go up to 96 when I multiply that by 6 there. Okay. So that's a start. Let me go ahead and do 42 just to see if anything matches up. 42 times 2 is going to give me 84. 42 times 3 is going to give me 126. Well, I see that I'm at 126. I'm already bigger than 96. I'm going to have to go back and start doing that some more. So I'll do another times 16 times, what am I at, 7. So we got 1. Boy, it's going to take a while, I feel like. There's another pattern here I'm using. So if you catch on that, go ahead. That's good. But I kind of want to just stick with doing it by hand. So that should be 112. Then another 16. It's going to give me 128. Are we for real here? Okay. I'm having a little bit of trouble here, so I'm gonna go ahead and just pause this real fast. Okay, so I just want to double check something because realizing that's going to take a while to do this step by step like this. So I would suggest using a calculator to help on this one. It's because, in all honesty, this one's it's going to take a while. Because what you're going to find is that you're eventually going to get to 336. Yep, there's my cat again. Okay, 336. That is the result of 16 times 21. Okay, so 16 times 21. So I would have had to do that a whole bunch more times, 21 steps to get there. 42 will also get there because that is the same as 42 times 8. Okay, so my least common multiple of 42 and 16 is 336. All right, so find the least common multiple of these given numbers, 25, 50, and 65. Here's a nice thing about this. There's 3 numbers, but if you recognize that 25, if I multiply that by 2, that's going to give me 50. So I know that 50 is a common multiple of 25. So I don't need to do all 3 numbers. I'm just going to focus in on 50 and 65. So let me try to find where those have something in common. And I'm going to start with the bigger number because that's going to be probably the tougher one. So 65. So I can do 65 times 2, and that's going to give me 130. Then double check. Can 50 multiply up to 130? Not quite. So that means I'm going to multiply this by 3, and I get 195. Okay, then I'll multiply by 4, it gives me 260. And then by 5 is going to give me 325. Oops. Okay, and then I'll multiply by 6, gives me 390. And I'm going to keep doing that on there. And again, I'm just using a calculator to help me out with this one a little bit. So let's see here, multiply by, I'm just going to keep that going for my pattern. So I find something that works. And there it is. So if I do 65 times 10, that's going to give me 650. While 650 is a multiple of 50. Okay. Because if I take 50 times 13, that's also 650. And because 25 or 50 is the result of 25 times 2, that means that's going to be 25 times, should be 26, also gives me, 650. So my least common multiple for these 3 numbers is 650. All right, finding factors of integers. This one is a bit easier. I'm going to do what's called find all the multiples. It should be find all the factors. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of list these out. So I'm going to look at that as 40. I'm going to start real low. I'm going to start with 1. Those are 2 factors. So even the number itself is still a factor. So 1 times 40. I'm going to go up by 1 and check 2. Well, 2 times 20 does work. Then I'm going to go through and I'm honestly going to use my calculator. Does 3 work? Can I take 3 times a number here to get me to 40? No, that doesn't work. How about 4? 4 times 10 works. 5 times 8 works. And that's it. Okay, because if I keep going further, 6 does not work. 7 does not work. And then if I get to 8, I'm just repeating this one over again. Okay, so that's what I like to do for these. So for 10, I'm going to start with 1 times 10. I'll check 2. Well, 2 does work with 5. Then 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then 5 is repeating here. Okay, so those are all my factors. Greatest common factor, I'm going to go ahead and list out all those possible factors there. Okay, so for example, for number 10, kind of already did that there. If you want, you can list them out in order. I know I'm going to deal with 1, 2, 5, and 10. It's helpful to see that. 35. Well, there's 1 and 35. 2, 3, 4, 5 times 7. And then that'll give me 35 here. So these are all the factors of 35. Fives. Fives are uncommon. So the greatest common factor here. Yeah, I don't like the order of that. So the GCF of these two is 5. Okay. Do the same thing for 24 and 16. So 16, I'm going to do, I'm just starting with the smaller one. So 1, 2 should work, 3, and then 4 works because 4 times 4 is 16. So then I'm just going to go back on there. I'm going to do 2 times 8 and 1 times 16. For 24, I've got 1, 2 will work, 3 will work, 4 will work, not 5. And now I'm repeating because I got 4 times 6, 3 times 8, 2 times 12, and then 1 times 24. So my greatest common factor here, we got some 8s. So that GCF is 8. Okay, 9, 27, 48. So 9, I've got 1, 3, and 9 because it's 1 times 9, 3 times 3. Got 1, 2, that'll be 3 times 9, and then 27 there. And then 48, got 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And in all honesty, I could stop there because if I look at these, I know that 9 is not going to go into 48. Okay. But if I'm just going to keep it forward. So I know that 3 is my greatest common factor for all of those, but we'll just keep it going anyway. So yeah, that's 4 times 12. That's 5. 6 will work because 6 times 8. 4 times 12. 3 times 16. 2 times 24. 1 times 48. So I did all that, but I really didn't need to because I'm going to recognize that since 9 cannot go into 48, because 9 times, let's see here, 9 times 5 is 45. So that's not going to give me the 48 there. So I know that 9 can't be it. So 3 is my only possibility there from 1, 3, and 9. So that's why 3 is my biggest one. Okay. All right. One last thing today, and that's adding and subtracting fractions. The thing about adding and subtracting fractions, before you can add, subtract, I don't know why we have multiply, divide on there. Is that going to be in the practice? Yeah, it's not in the practice. I don't know why it says that there. Okay. Well, for now, ignore multiply, divide. We're just focusing on adding, subtracting. We have to have common denominators. And the thing that we're going to do this, the way we get there is, just so we talked about earlier, these are common denominators are going to be common multiples. Okay. So if I look at this, I'm going to focus on the 6 and the 5. Is there a multiple for both of those that they can both multiply up to? Okay. So if I want to do any kind of process for like listing all my multiples of 6, all my multiples of 5, and find the smallest number there, I could do that. I'm going to recognize that that's 30. So if I look at 30 as being the common denominator for both of these fractions. So the question is, how do I transform these? How do I turn 4 over 5 into something over 30? And how do I turn 5 over 6 into something else over 30? Well, I take a look at those denominators. In order to turn 5 into 30, I got to multiply that by 6, which means I'm going to do the same thing in my numerator. That's a nice little thing I can do, and a little handy trick. The reason I can do that, 6 over 6 is just 1. That's all. Oh, you know what? Why are you doing this to me? It's doing it again. Give me a second. My screen's freezing up. It's being real goofy there. Okay. So I'm multiplying both the denominator and the numerator by 6. I'm allowed to do that because this is 1. 6 divided by 6 is just 1. So what I'm really doing is 4/5 times 6 over 6 is just multiplying 4/5 by 1. And if you remember some of our rules about multiplying by 1, it's the number itself. So I get 24 over 30. Over here, to turn 6 into 30, I'm going to multiply by 5, which means I'm going to do the same thing to my numerator. So that's 5 times 5 is going to be 25. So now I can add these together. That's going to give me 49 over 30. Sometimes I get a little bit easy, like 13. 3, if I take that, multiply by 5, that's going to get me to 15. So I only have to change one of these denominators. It's kind of nice. So the 9 is just going to carry through. But then in this case, I got to multiply the 2 by the 5 as well. 2 times 5 is going to give me 10. So I got 9/15 minus 10/15. I'm just going to subtract the numerator. So I get a -1 over 15. 4 and 9. The smallest denominator there is going to be just multiplying by each other. I'm going to get 36 in both cases there. So 9 times 3 is going to give me 27. And then 2 times 4 is going to give me 8. So we got 27 minus 8. That should be 19. Yeah, 19 over 36. All right. And for our last one here, 2 and 5. Again, these are going to end up being just multiples of each other. So I'm going to multiply 11 by 2 here and multiply 5 by 11 there. I'm going to end up with 55 over 10 plus 22 over 10. Add those together and I get 77 over 10. All right. And that's it for today. No, it's felt like kind of a lot, and I think some of these are a little bit easier, especially when you use your calculator. So make sure you're using your calculator as wisely to practice finding factors, and especially least common multiples and greatest common factors, things like that. All right, that is it for 1.1. Sorry, where were we at? 1A day 4. Okay, so we'll now be moving on to 1B very soon, and then 1C, and that's it for unit 1. So we're gonna wrap this up soon. All right. Take care, everybody.